Okay, here's a look at FansToys FT-30D Viper, which is their version of a masterpiece scaled Fireflight. So first, as always, let's take a look at the box. So here you could see the box with the nice artwork there of Fireflight, which captures the toy version because you could see the little screws that they put in there. And I do have a couple of comments here on this artwork. First, I just want to say I think they could have done a little bit better job on the values, like the front and shadow side, because you could see this whole red piece just looks like one red piece. It doesn't really make the distinction between the front and the side, you know, how well they controlled the values. And also the contrast. I think they could have done a better job, like maybe increasing the contrast like they did right here on the blue details. That's really done nice. I think it's just could have been done throughout the figure. Like you could see the legs here. Could have used maybe a little bit higher contrast. But that's just, you know, a little bit of my critique there. But the back of the box, you get your product images. And this is cool. You get the group shot here, which I'm really looking forward to getting that slingshot, like I'm sure a lot of us are who are collecting this set. And the bio here, that's also on the card. Side of the box, FT-30D, Viper. The other side, same thing. Top of the box, you get the artwork in alt mode. With the QR code, you could scan if you want. The bottom, same thing. So that is a look at the box. And now, here is the figure. Let's go over the accessories. So let's look at the instruction booklet, because that does have your accessories here. You get the alternative faceplate and the handgun, which interestingly they didn't point out how it does separate into two pieces, but I'm pretty sure that's on the near the end, because it does separate and attach to the bottom of the wings. And I like the way they handled the detail drawings. They colored the focused area blue and the arrows for like the instructions. But something I noticed, which I don't like, is these are not numbered. You don't really need the numbers here, but still, I think they should have put like 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, they didn't do that. But yes, yeah, like I said, they did point it out here. You could separate the guns and then attach it to the bottom, the jet mode. So that is a look at the instructions. And here's a look at the alternate faceplate. So you could see it's actually really nicely sculpted. I think they did a good job there. And of course, my favorite, the bio card, but done in that credit card shape, which makes it really difficult to read the bio on there unless you zoom in and pause to read all of that, which is, I think, the same thing on the box. But anyways, that's a look at the bio card. And now let's take a closer look at the figure. But first, let's compare this with the animation model so we could see how well they captured the cartoon aesthetics. So let me first get them all straightened up here, and then we can see how well they captured the cartoon aesthetics. And you could see, for the most part, I think they did a nice job capturing a lot of the details. And obviously, you should already know that FansToys already let us know they made a mistake here. It should be blue, not these transparent plastic pieces. So hopefully the slingshot figure that we get, you know, that will come with it. And the back, you can see, I think they also did a nice job. Just the window here, it should be white or transparent, not this dark tinted windows. But that's a look at the figure, and I think they did a really nice job capturing the cartoon aesthetics. So now let's go over some of the articulation. Well, let's get a closer look at that head. It's a nice head. And even though the head and the face is white, I think they still did a nice job, you know, differentiating the differences between the two. And so the head can go up and down, side to side, but it's not on a ball joint, so it cannot go do that, you know, confused dog look. And the shoulders here, you could see they do lift out like this on a tight ratchet. That's because of the paint on here. There's no ratchet, but their FansToys uses the paint to help stabilize this articulation. The arms also go up and down, and you could see it holds up well. And again, that's because of the paint on the plastic. They're relying on the paint to help with the friction. Same thing here with the paint. You get bicep swivel. You do get elbow joint here, but it only goes 90 degrees, but it is on a screw. And his hand here, you could see, I think this is cool. They went back to the old design before those organic fingers. So this way it stays consistent with the other aerial bots that have the same type of fingers. So that's nice. And then this one, you don't get a waist rotation or an ab crunch. And I know people have already pointed out here, you know, you could lift up these hip skirts and you can kind of get a hip rotation here, and they're complaining about it. Yeah, for me, I'll tell you, you know, the waist rotation and ab crunch doesn't matter, although I admit that would be really nice if it did have that. And I think there was a way that they could have redesigned it so you did have a waist rotation, because I think Zeta was able to do that, right? But anyways, that's the waist. And the legs, you can hear that. The legs go up and down on a nice ratchet. It's a friction screw going out to the side. You do get a nice ratcheted knee. And the feet is on a, I think, yeah, where you do get an ankle rocker. And you do get a toe tilt up and toe tilt down. So overall, I think it's a good amount of articulation. I know some people, they, you know, want to say things about the butterfly joint. This obviously doesn't have a butterfly joint. And if you really think about it, the way this figure is designed, the transformation and stuff, you could see how, you know, why it doesn't have that. And if they forced it with thin plastic and a thin pin, kind of like X-Transbot's Perceptor, yeah, you might have some breakage there. So I'm just trying to make it clear, you know, why we get some things and don't with some figures and another. It's just the way it's designed. So I think this is done really well. Other than that, I think that's about it for the figure. So now let's bring out his other teammates so we can get a group shot here. So here is their air raid, and I think I did forget to mention something, which I will now. Like you could see how he has problem with the balance because he's kind of missing like stronger heels or bigger or longer heels or something like that. And I say that because that's also the same issue here with Fireflight. You know, once you start articulating him to get him into a nice pose here, he also has that same issue with the standing very stable because the feet, the way they designed that. I wouldn't say it's the way they designed it. It's just because of all the die cast, this blockiness that some people like, some people don't like. It's just too heavy. It can't really support that weight. But anyways, just wanted to point that out also. And yeah, you could see it's kind of toppling over. So let's bring out Silverbolt and Fireflight here. And I do like to see, this is one of the issues with this set. You kind of have to have them tilting forward, but then that's not really stable because it's going to fall back. So here's Air Raid. What was I saying? I was saying that I do like to have these arranged in a certain order. I like to arrange these in the way that they combine. So you see Air Raid is on this side. What's his name? Air Raid, Fireflight. No? I forgot his, or Skydive. Skydive is over here, and on this side we are supposed to have, if I don't have enough room here, we're supposed to have Fireflight on this side. And you could see, I'm glad this is happening. So yeah, instead of me pointing it out, you can clearly see for yourself that this is one of the issues with this set, is the balance here on all these figures. It's I wouldn't say it's so much the way it's designed, it's more because these figures, they are kind of heavy. So unless you have them leaning forward, they are gonna kind of fall back, like right here you could see. So, or I think what you can do is you can have these guys like all straight standing straight up. So yeah, you could see has some real difficulty with standing. And like I just said, you know, unless you have them standing straight up, then that kind of helps a little bit, but it's still having issues because this back is just way too heavy. So yeah, that's one of the downsides of this figure, is that these figures, they are really heavy. But you could see these guys, they look really nice, right? Now we just need a slingshot, and then we have our set completed, and then we could see what they all look like in combine mode and answer the question that I was just having trouble with, is what's the stability of Superion going to be when these guys are already having some difficulty standing right there. So I guess we'll find that out once we get the slingshot. But that's just a quick look at the rest of the crew and Fireflight. So now what we could do is go ahead and transform Fireflight into his alt mode and take a look at that. Okay, here's a look at the alt mode, and let's compare this with the animation model and see how well they capture the cartoon aesthetics. And you could see for the most part they did, but there are some things that are not correct, such as the cockpit here. You could see it's dark, and you see in the animation it's like the white or transparent. And also, you know, I'm really surprised here they didn't paint in the little detail there that's actually in the cartoon. So that's just one little difference there. And the back, well, you know, it's pretty much the same thing. They did a nice job capturing, you know, all the details, the blue and yellow stripes, you know. So yeah, I think they did a nice job. But there are actually a lot of things I want to point out. But let me first just point out some of the features, I guess. So you could see here the cockpit does open, and you could see like a red seat on the top, but the back of his head right there for the white. And you do have some nicely sculpted interior there that's not really painted. And what else? Let's see, the guns, you could see they do separate and they tab in here. You do get options here for two, but you should check the instructions because this is the correct orientation. this side goes on the last slot, and this side with the double handle goes on the front slot. So I mean, that's just probably doesn't matter, but I'm just pointing that out. And let's see, some of the other things I wanted to point out here. Now the negative is they didn't do a very nice job cleaning this up, because you could see this is kind of cheap, where they just kind of have this piece out, which makes it easier to put that pin in there, as opposed to making this all nice, clean, and flush, where you have to somehow get that pin on the inside. So that's another difference. And here, this is a good way for you to see here. You could see this shape here. This is actually part of the chest where his arms attach, and you need to push this down in order to start, manipulating it to rotate the arms out. And this is a big major issue, because one of the major issues with transforming this figure is trying to get those arms out from alt mode to robot mode. And, Pake does a good job of pointing a lot of things out, just like, I do. But his videos are really long, which is why I don't really do that, because people don't seem to like long videos. But he does point that out. And, it is hard to get that out. I mean, I did kind of figure out a way to somewhat make it easier. But I did want to point out, someone else that already made a review. I'm kind of criticizing, his review, because he's criticizing a lot of really trivial things. I don't really remember what they were, such as like the rotation and stuff like that. But this, he didn't mention anything about this. And this, I'm telling you again, is the major issue with transforming this, specifically from alt mode to robot mode. You're going to have to figure out how to get this out. But anyways, that's pretty much all I wanted to say about the figure. But I can show you some comparisons. So remember I was telling you they didn't do a very good job cleaning that up. Well, look at the way they did it on their other figure. They did a nice job cleaning up. You don't see that pin. So assembling this is a little bit harder because it's on the inside. So they did a nice job here. And also, like, look at this interior. It looks much nicer too. It's the top and bottom of the seat is all painted the same color. So now I'm just being really nitpicky. But yeah, it's really great. And now I don't have a lot of space here, but I did just want to do this just, to show you something that might be a little bit interesting. But what do we have so far? We have the 4 aerial bots. So here we have Fireflight, Air Raid, we have Skydive, and Silver Bolt, which this one was the hardest to figure out how to transform. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I can go on and on saying a lot of things, but yeah, I'll just say transforming it, that one was the hardest. And if anyone's interested, since I have my ruler here, you can see how big this is. So let's start 10 as 1, and you could see that this right here is about 13 inches in length, and the width, let's come back to 10. So that's our 1, and you could see, well, it depends on how you want to articulate these wings also. So let's just put it all the way straight flat, and you could see it's it's about 10 inches, actually less than 10 inches. So in case anyone's wondering how big this figure is, this is really a big figure. So now let's just go ahead and transform him back to robot mode and have our final thoughts. Okay, my final thoughts on this figure. First, let me just say that it's nice to have another member of the Aerial Bots, so we're getting closer to completing our collection. And as far as this figure goes, I just have to say, you know, it's just like a lot of other FansToys figures or their other Aerial Bots. This does look really nice. They did a nice job on the sculpt, the paint, and all that stuff. So it's your typical FansToys stuff. And just the little negatives, if you will. I do agree with, you know, I guess I could just say it, Bobby Skullface, you know, pointing out it does not have the metallic red paint, which that one I would agree, because if the other three Aerial Bots that we have that metallic red paint, they should have stayed consistent and, you know, painted that same metallic red paint, just like they did with the hands. They went back to the boxy style hands, which is consistent with the other Aerial Bots. So yeah, I do agree with that. And then there is the issue with the balance here, but you know, I kind of learned how to tweak this a little bit, so I'm kind of like having him lean forward on his tippy toes here, and so he does kind of have a little bit of a better stance there if you kind of have him leaning forward on his tippy toes. And yeah, other than that, I don't really have much to say. I said a lot about the paint because there's a lot I wanted to say. I think I figured out a lot of why FansToys is kind of, you know, designing the figures a little bit different. I'm not explaining everything fully, but it has to do with the paint. They're relying a lot now on all these tabs to help lock things in, because with the plastic, with the paint that they use, that will help lock these things in, which saves cost on doing things like this, which is making these parts, you know, extra parts so that they, you know, and pins so you can fold it and lock it in place. But as a consequence, it makes it really difficult transforming the figure into alt mode. The best I could describe that, it's kind of like the Takata Beast Wars. If you have any Masterpiece Beast Wars, it's really frustrating trying to get all these things tabbed in. But that's just one issue with the transformation. The other issue is everything does have to be in the correct sequence. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to spend more time trying to figure out how to transform this figure. But anyways, I don't want to go rambling. Just in general, this is another nice figure by FansToys. And obviously, if you have the other ones, you're going to get it. So I don't need to give any recommendations. And last, I'll just say, you know, if I was to rate this figure specifically, I would rate this figure an 8 out of 10. So that's it. That's my review of FansToys Masterpiece version of Fireflight.